Senator Wyden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I want to commend you, Mr. Chairman, and Senator Collins. I think it's a very important topic. Mr. Soberman, a question for you about installment loans. And particularly, I want to take a look at what you all can do to help seniors, clearly a vulnerable population, from installment lenders, because in many respects, they're quite similar to the payday lenders. In both cases, you've got both types of loans, in effect, offered by the same lender. And I particularly was struck by an investigation by the publication ProPublica into installment loans. I mean, this was a jaw-dropping drill showing how consumers, particularly seniors and others, are being ripped off by some of these unregulated installment loan companies that, in effect, are targeting seniors and those in the military. And you've got companies, they cite one like World Acceptance, that sets up shop outside of military bases in low-income areas to provide loans that have interest rates attached to them that, in effect, are over 150%. And what ProPublica is saying is they're basically using a business model to get around interest rate caps that are established in the law. We have one, for example, in Oregon. And they do this by wrapping in insurance products to the loans. And the model is to structure the loan payments so that the insurance premiums and the interest is paid up front, and then they go out and chase the borrowers hither and yon and try to persuade them to refinance in order to trap them into this cycle of just paying premiums and interest and never paying down principal. And evidently, they go out and harass them in their homes. They go out and harass them in the workplace. What are your thoughts about what the Consumer Protection Bureau can do in this area to deal with these kinds of practices that you see utilized by World Acceptance and similar companies?
Well, Senator, to begin with, the federal consumer protection laws, which we are charged with enforcing, are product agnostic, if you will. They apply to all forms of products, and one of our jobs is to regulate in a consistent manner. So we are attempting to take a holistic approach to the small dollar credit market, which is why our first report was on both payday loans and deposit advances, followed shortly thereafter with a report on overdraft, so that we would intend to look holistically at all products and make sure that we're not simply squeezing air in the balloon from one place to another. That would not serve anybody's interest. With respect to the practice that was reported of selling, like we call add-on products in conjunction with installment loans, that, as you know, has been an area in which the Bureau has been particularly active. Our first enforcement action was around add-on products in the credit card market, and there have been several of those. We recently brought an action which involved products being sold to service members, and one piece of that was add-on products that were not clearly, transparently disclosed. So we have ample authority to assure that in that sort of situation, the consumers understand what's being sold. They're not finding themselves that they've bought a product without even realizing that they actually had bought it, without ever saying yes to it, without understanding the terms of the product. That's a very important part of what we are all about.
So what can be done about World Acceptance? I mean, this is evidently in an important investigation by a credible consumer rights group, something that has been an ongoing problem. Is there anything else that you need to do, that the Congress needs to do, that regulators need to do?
Well, Senator, we have the authority to supervise both depository institutions and non-depository institutions. For non-depository institutions, Congress actually gave us plenary authority over payday lenders, but for other types of lenders, our authority is limited to larger participants, which we have to define by rule. So that would be an issue, something we would have to do before we could engage in our supervisory activity.
So you would need to pass a rule to go after people like World Acceptance?
Not quite, Senator. So we have, in order for us to be able to do a supervisory exam, that would be true, but our enforcement authority is not so limited. We have the authority to investigate and enforce the consumer protection laws against any non-depository institution. Obviously, I'm not at liberty to talk about any particular investigations that may or may not be going on.
Well, why don't we do this? I'd like you to get back to me in writing with what the tools you have are with respect to world acceptance, A, and what your take is of the urgency of this matter, because this looks to me like, and I thought you're spot on with respect to how you want to look at this holistically, that this looks like another way to get around efforts by some who are pro-consumer, like in our state of Oregon, to get around limits on payday lenders, and so you try to tuck this kind of approach in, and you basically can accomplish the same thing. So get back to me in writing on both of those points, okay?
We'd be delighted to do so, Senator.
How long will that take? Can you have that done within, say, 2 weeks?
I would think so, but let me just, yes.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.